The hardest time is maybe the first time round because there's a lot to learn. But now I have so many skills that the next project isn't actually that very daunting because you already kind of know some of the basics.
Why did you decide to set up Kitty's Laundrette as a workers cooperative as opposed to a social enterprise or mission-led business?
So we decided to set it up as a workers cooperative, which basically means that everybody who works there owns the business.
What's your dream?
I think my dream is something to do with that the world should be different. I think it's...
What's the best advice that you can give to a student that's looking to start a community project or social enterprise while at school?
Just do whatever's interesting to you because you're going to do something 10 times better if you care about it.
What are the plans for Kids Laundrette in the future?
I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but
Welcome, everybody. Good morning. My name is Richard Layton. I'm the entrepreneur in residence from the University of Liverpool. I'm within the Brett Centre for Entrepreneurship. We're here this morning for the second episode of the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast. We're here in King's Hawthorne's Leadership Academy here in Bootle with our Year 10s studying the GCSE business studies. We've got two interviewers, and this morning, Poppy and Evie very kindly to agree to interview our entrepreneur Grace from Kitty's Laundrette. I'll hand it over to Poppy and Evie to ask the questions.
What is Kitty's Laundrette and how long have you run the social enterprise?
Kitty's Laundrette is a normal, in a way, laundrette on a high street. It's based in Anfield, and so it's got loads of washing machines and dryers. But then we also use the sort of warm, cozy interior of the laundrette as a accessible community space. So we do events and activities. So knitting club on a Monday, we have a writers group on a Thursday night, we do film nights, we have live music, so it's kind of functioning every day doing the washing, but then lots of other community activities are happening in the space.
Why did you decide to set up Kitty's Laundrette as a workers cooperative as opposed to a social enterprise or mission-led business?
So we decided to set it up as a workers cooperative, which basically means that everybody who works there owns the business. So instead of there being a CEO or a boss who is kind of at the top, and usually that person makes a lot of decisions, and they also, sometimes when the business isn't going well, a lot of the cost falls on them. But when the business is doing very well, they're also the person that gets quite rich, whereas a lot of the workers, don't often get access to that money. So whereas in a workers co-op, you basically all own the business together. If you do well, you all do well. If you're struggling, you all struggle. It's more of comes from a place of solidarity and recognizing that everybody's work is valuable and that everyone should be rewarded for their work.
What were you like in secondary school, and were you socially entrepreneurial as a student?
I definitely wasn't socially entrepreneurial in any way. Didn't do super well in school, but I'm dyslexic and didn't sort of concentrate a lot and didn't do really well, but I did pass my GCSEs. Yeah, I don't think I was very focused on my future in any particular way, but I enjoyed it as well.
What were your favourite subjects and what did you like best about school?
I really liked art and languages. Can't actually remember what else I took. Geography. I think I took geography. Yeah, I think I liked that. I think I actually just really like people, so I think I actually liked school for just being around lots of people and learning a lot about all the different people that are there, different characters, how you communicate, all of that is such important skills that you bring to the rest of your life, work and things like that. So yeah, I think I enjoyed that.
What could school have done to encourage or support you and others into social action and entrepreneurship more?
I think it's fair to say that when I was at school, I didn't have any awareness of entrepreneurship or starting your own business. And I don't even think, to be honest, I had much awareness of politics or social issues and stuff like that. I feel I learned most of that after I left school. So maybe I'd think that schools could maybe do more to introduce young people to those things earlier on. I did go to sixth form and I studied art and sociology and Spanish, and then I did something called an art foundation, which is like a 1-year course that you can do after college. It's like a gap between college and university, but then I actually just stopped study after that. So I did the foundation. I enjoyed that a lot. It was like a full-time art course. And then, but I didn't go to university. I went like traveling and did stuff like that. So,
what did you do before starting Kitty's Laundrette? Did you work for anyone else or run any other social projects? And what did you learn?
For quite a few years, I was doing art-based things. So I was like involved with like art collectives, making stuff, having exhibitions. I was like writing about art and getting that published in magazines and different places. I did some travel that was about like kind of researching art and visiting projects in other countries. And I just kind of was like learning through doing, through like engaging with whatever was interesting to me and working with other artists and learning a lot from them. And like I think what art taught me is that you just do it. Like, you know, you want to put on an exhibition with your mates, you just like find a space and, you know, gather some materials, put on an exhibition. You know, it's like, I think connected then to entrepreneurialism for me, because it just makes you believe that like you'll find a way. Like if you just want to do something, you just sort of like crack on, work with people, pool your resources, like make things happen. And I also worked as a cleaner because that didn't pay very well. So I worked as a cleaner in my spare time because that was like really flexible work. And so I worked in people's houses. Like when they were at work, I'd just go and clean their house and listen to podcasts, and it was actually quite good.
What's the best advice that you can give to a student that's looking to start a community project or social enterprise while at school?
Just do whatever's interesting to you, because like you're going to do something 10 times better if you care about it. Like, yeah, types of art, or whether it's social action, or whether it's like learning about something, you know, I'm sure you all know that the thing that you care about like engages you a lot more. So I just sort of, yeah, it'd be amazing to start projects when you're high school and teach yourself through doing and build relationships with other people who are interested in similar things as you.
What are the plans for Kids Laundrette in the future? And do you believe you'll set up any more social enterprises?
I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but so the Laundrette's been open for 5 years now, and we have 10. We're kind of already at like capacity in our existing. We've got a few different ideas about how we might grow in the future. One of the things that we are thinking to do actually at the moment is to start a cleaning cooperative. So recognizing that, like at the moment, loads of people bring us washing who are cleaners of like Airbnbs and hotels and stuff, and they don't get paid properly and stuff like that. So we were thinking if we started a cleaners co-op, then we could improve the working conditions of more people in our neighborhood. So I guess that's kind of the part of our business, but it might end up being a separate business. But I am also working on projects with other people to do more sort of like community stuff. I think once you start doing things, and because the hardest time is maybe the first time round, because there's a lot to learn. But now I have so many skills that the next project isn't actually that very daunting, because you already kind of know some of the basics. And then also because you get quite a good reputation for the things that you have done, people come at you a lot with opportunities and you know, resources. And so yeah, it's a really exciting time in terms of like how many possibilities there are going forward. And yeah, look forward to seeing what we do together. It'll be.
If you were a secondary school student again now, what type of community project or social enterprise would you look to start and why?
I can't say I've thought about that. Maybe because high school and college for me was really about like falling in love with art. Like it really was such an inspiring time for me in terms of like discovering all this stuff you could make, and, you know, like learning about art that other people had made and feeling really inspired by that. So maybe I'd do something with art projects. Yeah, maybe like encouraging exhibit their work or make projects together, or, you know, participate in all the different like art festivals that happen around the city and stuff. There's so much to get involved with it once you start looking, and there's so much of it's free as well, and like it's actually quite easy to get into once you know that it's there. So I think that's probably what I'd try to get involved with. Yeah.
So we can open it up to some of the year 10 GCSE business studies students, or even the teachers as well. Has anybody got a question at all for Grace? Don't be shy, or don't worry about asking your question. Has anyone got a question? Okay, well, I'll go around with the microphone. So first question is from Mrs. Hagan, the careers manager at the school.
Thanks, Richard. Could I ask Grace, where did the idea for Titty's Laundrette come from?
In a way, it kind of comes from this question about like all the art stuff that I was doing, because we were using a lot of other people's spaces to put on exhibitions and film festivals and different things like that. So we were using like bars and community centres and derelict warehouses and all sorts of places. And so we were thinking, we started thinking a lot about, what are the barriers to some of those spaces, and like who's included and how accessible are they, and like how do they, all the questions about audience and participation. And so then we started thinking about like other spaces in our communities that kind of could facilitate stuff to happen. And so the Laundrette kind of came out of that. We were thinking, it's like they're warm, like they've got seats and blank walls, and pretty much everyone can roughly know what they are and feel able to cross the threshold. So like the diversity of our community who uses the Laundrette is amazing. And I know that we just would not have cross-section of our neighbourhood using us if maybe we were some other kind of space. Like even a cafe, certain foods you make can exclude or include people. And I'm not like, community cafes are amazing, but they have some, like many spaces have barriers. And so that was kind of why we first came to the idea of the Laundrette. But then we also started learning more about like things like hygiene poverty, and how, people who are struggling with money, might be struggling to put the washing machine on or buy detergent, or if your machine's broken, you might not have the money to fix it. And so we thought, oh, well, we could also really help people by creating access to washing and drying facilities. And then that's the reason why the people come in the space, and then we make them a cup of tea and we get chatting, and then they join the knitting club, and it's kind of like all flows from there. So it's all about like social connection that's possible in the space.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And what social activities do you run? You mentioned knitting just there. What are the other activities that you run?
So we've really are very open to like anything we can squeeze into the Laundrette. So, I mean, we've had like jazz gigs and like experimental music, and we've had like craft workshops, making like puppets and making tote bags out of old bed sheets, and like basically anything you can kind of imagine. We've had big parties. If you guys look us up on social media, you'll see pictures of all the different events that we've done. But yeah, basically either some of our team, so we have quite a lot of young people working in the Laundrette, and one of the things we do is we train them up in like how to put together a project and write funding bids and then run the projects themselves. So we've had about 3 or 4 successful funded projects from the young people. But then we also get requests from people who want to use the space for their events. So depending on who it is, we'll either let them use the space for free or we'll charge them. And then so that's how the program comes about, really.
I really love that answer, and especially about the inclusivity of laundrettes, because even boys like me have to have a wash or get clean every now and then.
Everyone does.
Yeah, what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you from kind of the first idea of the business to where you are now?
I think the biggest challenge is kind of like perseverance, because it's like loads of big challenges or loads of small challenges. And it's just sort of about like keeping going, because like I didn't know anything about how to run a business. I didn't study business studies. I didn't even really think about it until I was about 25. So, I needed to learn finance. I needed to learn like legal stuff, like around governance. I had to learn about marketing and like, the, you know, when you become an employer as well, there's lots of like things you have to think about with like people management and the legal things about employing people. And yeah, there was a lot to learn. And to be honest, I used to wash my darks with my lights. Like I'm not a laundry person. So we also had loads to learn about laundry and like stain treatment and machinery. And so, I mean, there has been a lot, but it's just kind of trying to break it down into like one thing at a time and then just like keep going.
You touched upon sort of funding. Obviously, from what I know, you received some funding to help you establish and develop Kitty's Laundrette. I think it was really great that you mentioned about some of the workers, some of the young people that work in the space as well are actually now creating their own bids and applying for funding to run their own projects, which again is, sort of an extension, which is really brilliant to kind of see that impact side of things. But yeah, if you're a social entrepreneur, quite often you do have more access to funding potentially than if you were just a normal, straightforward commercial entrepreneur. So it'd be interesting for me to hear, as well as the pupils, kind of the journey that you've gone through in terms of funding that you've applied for and what it's allowed you to do, and also not only talk about where you've had your wins, but maybe some areas where you've applied for some funding to do some things and that didn't sort of pan out, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah, no, it's true. When you've got a business like ours where it's not about personal gain, like no one individual is going to become really rich, it is quite possible to access funding. Either it comes from like public, like the government, or it comes from local councils, or it comes from private charitable foundations and stuff, and you basically just tell them what you want to do and make a compelling plan for it, and then they'll give you money. So it does mean that we started this business with none of our own money. So, that's a plus because A, we didn't have any money to put into it, and B, it doesn't put that pressure on any individual to like, I'm sure when you've watched like Dragon's Den and stuff and people talk about like how they've like got all this debt on their house because they've tried to start this sort of wild invention or something like this. Like it's really different that no one's in debt. No one had to put any money up. And yeah, so I mean, initially, I think the first pot of money we got was like £20,000 or something, which at the time seemed like loads of money. And then slowly realized that it wasn't like a drop in the ocean of what we needed. And then we just slowly kept building up. We'd get another 15 here, and then we spent some of that 15 building a crowdfunder, and we did like a public crowdfunding. We paid loads of artists to like make an animation and loads of cool things. So it was a really engaging crowdfunder, and we were in the news and everything. And then we raised about 25,000 through the crowdfunder. But then what that did was it made some of the big national funders look at our project and say, oh, wow, this is really exciting. And then on the back of that, we got about 130,000 from a national funder. And that's what we used to buy all the washing machines. So that was really great because obviously that saved us loads of money over time now. Yeah, we just like apply for different pots of money to deliver certain activity or to develop certain things, or for the creative program, like what we mentioned before about the young people. Obviously now as the business has grown, most of the money most of our income is from earned income. So we earn about 150,000 a year on the washing. And then we have maybe another 50,000 of funding that comes in to cover like our community activities and stuff. So yeah, the last set of accounts, which was last year, that was about the mix of the business now.
It's certainly, from my experience, it can be really difficult and challenging when you start out, but when you start to get some wins and successes, funders, start to get some confidence in what you're doing and see if they back you that you'll run a successful project. I mean, for me personally, sometimes it'd be nice if some funders would take sort of the risk. Quite often in in life, a lot is given to those who have quite a lot of experience already and opportunity. But sometimes it's good that, certainly on the social side, I wish that some trusts and foundations and some funders would take a little bit more risk. I kind of understand why they don't, but quite often I see, some people who aren't given funding go on to, create massively successful projects like yours, and it just frustrates you a bit because it's like you might have been bogged down for 2 or 3 years when actually you could have been having some impact if they'd have trusted in your vision and supported you sort of earlier. I know that you talked about your crowdfunder, which is really great. So I've bought like some of the soap and the pin badges that you did. I think that was a really great way. And then you've also been quite inventive. I think your washing machines and dryers, like people have paid to sponsor them and sort of call them sort of names. So there's lots of nice ways that you've been creative to find different little revenue streams, which in social businesses in general, you kind of have to be like that. They're not as straightforward as normal commercial businesses because there's that social element and impact that you've got to kind of think about.
Yeah. And definitely just to add to that, like, if anyone here does have an idea of something they're trying to explore or they want to do some projects with friends and stuff, there are pots of money out there that are easier to get, and they don't require, having a super business plan and everything. If you're really enthusiastic about the thing you want to do, there's things where you can like pitch for money, and like, you can get like £500 or £1,000 or different pots of money that allow you to just get started with something. And also what that does, if that project is something you continue doing, it also demonstrates to other funders that, like, if we give you money, you will do what you say you want to do with it. And so, like, it's like a lot of things. If someone trusts you with £500, the more and you do well with it, or you act with integrity with it, then they're more likely to give you 1,000, and then they're more likely to give you 10,000. And so, it's true for us. The pots of money have generally got larger as we've gone along because we demonstrate track record, we demonstrate, trustworthiness. So I also would say definitely in the beginning, like, things like Liverpool Soup or Awesome Foundation, they're just like both about £500, not that difficult to get. They'd be thrilled to hear about ideas that high school students have for things they want to do, and they'd really throw their weight behind it. So
I started off my entrepreneurial journey when I was at university, and I had a £500 community cash award from my university. It was called the Leeds University Community Initiative. And then I also had £500 from the Prince's Trust, which I think is called the King's Trust as well. So you are right. So I started off with £500, then got 5,000, 15,000, 150,000, then up to 500,000, and then £500,000 again. And just to remind some of the pupils, sort of in the room, as part of the Enterprise Education in Secondary Schools programme, we do have the Enterprise competition as well. So actually we have some students from the school on Thursday who'll be pitching at our Entrepreneurs Monthly Meetup that we win. And we're very fortunate that Simon Squibb's given us £1,000 to match the £1,000 that we're giving out. So actually the winner of the Enterprise competition that's pitching on Thursday that entered that, they will be winning £500. Then the second person is getting 400, and then the lowest prize is 200. So yeah, there are opportunities in the future for you to apply for funding, whether it's in here or obviously Grace mentioned about Liverpool Soup's a really good place to go, and then you have the King's Trust as well now that you can go to as well. Okay, we have a closing tradition on the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast. So the first of our 2 closing traditions is to ask you, Grace, what's your dream?
I think my dream is something to do with like that the world should be different. Like, I think it's unjust and messed up, and like I think we need to I think we all need to work towards like a better world. So I guess, yeah, my dream would be like us all doing that together, and then change happening, like, tackling climate change, tackling racism, tackling gender-based violence, like all these things that happen that are, shouldn't happen. I guess that the end dream is those things not being there anymore. or having kind of solved them. But I guess it's about a journey towards that, because none of these things will happen overnight. So it's like we have to just work diligently towards them with a lot of joy.
Yeah, and I think it's really great that you're obviously sort of doing that. You are taking action. I mean, it was great to hear what you were saying about Kitty's sort of Anfield. Sort of, it's brilliant what you've done there, and the fact that you've then sort of recognised, well, actually, we've created some really good work opportunities for people in the laundrette, but actually there's, conditions for cleaners locally doing things like that. So again, kind of you're using the impact that you've created there to create more other positive impact in another area. And I think the more that entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs go out there and do good work, it influences and inspires other people to show actually there's different ways to do things. Like, people can set up businesses where they're not necessarily the only ones that sort of benefit, and that can be shared with sort of other people. So other and final closing tradition on the podcast is to pick at random one of the diary of a CEO sort of cards. So I have no idea which pack does what, but do you want to get the cards out and let Grace choose a card, and it'll have a question in there for her to answer. So we've no idea what it's going to say, but we're going to find out.
It says, can you describe what winning means to you, Jamie Carragher?
Okay, that's actually really interesting. So the person who actually answered the question or wrote the question for the person was Jamie Carragher, who's a Liverpool footballer. So that's really sort of random. But can you describe what winning means to you?
I think that the word winning sounds like an end point, whereas I don't really feel like things ever really end. And so I guess I often think that I have a few criteria in my life that I think if I'm doing those three things, then I'm happy. So I think about as long as I'm learning stuff, as long as I'm being creative, and as long as I'm helping people and being a useful part of society, then I'm winning. And so as long as I'm so when I'm making decisions, I just check everything against those things. And then if I'm doing them, I'm I'm on the right path. So I'm winning. So yeah, maybe I think it's that.
No, that's really, really nice. Again, it kind of reflects that it's not an individual thing for you. It actually reflects that winning is helping and supporting other people and bringing people along with me as I sort of progress in life, which is really sort of resonates and reflects obviously in the Workers Cooperative that you set up. So I think that is a really nice answer to something that someone traditionally would answer it more kind of individualistically. So I hope that everyone really enjoyed the podcast today. If I could just say thanks ever so much to Poppy and Evie for being very brave and asking the questions. Thank you to Grace from Kitty's Laundrette for coming in and giving your time as well as your experience and passing that on to the Year 10 Business Studies students here in King's Leadership Academy, Hawthorne's in Bootle, as always. And thanks to Mrs. Hagan, the careers manager, for helping and supporting the Enterprise Education in Secondary Schools programme, which the Kids Interview Entrepreneurs podcast is part of as well. Thanks to Jay, one of our philosophy masters students who's helping us record and create the podcast. And lastly, thanks to the Brett Centre for Entrepreneurship that I work as the entrepreneur in residence for, in particular Paul Brett, and also Sir Peter Rigby as well for his kind support. So thanks ever so much, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation that we had today, and we're excited and looking forward to some other podcast episodes in the future. Take care for now.